Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to our series of Meet the Industry. Today, we're fortunate to have Jenni Lee Crocker with us. She's the Managing Director and Corporate Leader for Virginia, Maryland, and Washington, D.C. For Marsh. Ms. Crocker's been with Marsh since 2013. Prior to joining Marsh, she was a director at EY, and she has 25 years of experience in risk management advisory services. She primarily focuses on tech, retail, and real estate, and we'll talk about that in greater detail in a little bit. Ms. Crocker has a bachelor's from the University of Richmond, a master's from George Washington University, is involved in numerous civic community organizations, and she's on our risk advisory board. So welcome this morning. We're glad you could join us, and we're anxious to hear about your career path, advice you have for our students, amongst many other things. So with that, we'll start, and tell us about yourself a little bit, about Marsh, what Marsh does, what you do, and so forth.
Well, thanks, Robert. Thanks for having me here today. So about me, I'm actually from a very small town in Virginia on the North Carolina border. And my main goal in life was to get out of there and get to a bigger city. And for me, that was actually Richmond, which was, and so that's how I found myself at U of R, which was a great fit. And then needed to get to a bigger city, and went to DC for grad school and worked my way through grad school, which was actually the best thing that ever happened to me. I say that my parents cutting me off at age 21 was actually terrific, and it didn't feel that way at age 21 when I made the natural assumption they were going to pay for grad school, and they did not. But it was great, right? Because then everything I put into it felt like my own. And it became very personal to me. Not that it wasn't before and I didn't work hard, but the idea of working and making my own paycheck and understanding what I was good at and where my value was outside of school became really important. And I thought forever and ever I would be in the arts. And if you've looked at my LinkedIn, I spend a lot of my community efforts still in the arts. But I found out that I was really great at business, and that was probably where I was more predisposed than what I originally thought arriving at college. And so I put myself through grad school and got this terrific job at EY. And that what for me was also my secondary business education. I felt that EY did a tremendous job, not just of saying, here's the work, go do it, but educating me along the way. And if I listened carefully and took the feedback that was being given to me, I evolved every day, right? I got better and better because they gave me great feedback, and they gave me a great business education, sort of that infrastructure I needed in my 20s. And I will say that I loved it there. I thought it was my forever home. And Marsh started recruiting me. And I thought, oh gosh, no, I've got 2 kids and I'm happy and I don't need this change in my life. And they offered me the role of the Virginia office head, which I think at EY would have taken me quite some time. I think that there was a little bit more hierarchy in terms of age and tenure. And I was a little bit younger, and so I made the leap. And I distinctly remember that Jerry Maguire moment where I'm in my car and I'm crying, and I have my box of stuff, and I think I've made an awful mistake. And as it turns out, I was a square peg in a square hole. That moving over to the broker side of the house actually made a lot of sense to me, and that the challenges I faced every day were just so different. And I loved it. I love it still. I get up every day pretty excited. I plan my next day before I go to bed. And I enjoy, and I know this will come out strangely because I've heard that the scariest thing you can say at a dinner party is I'm in insurance. But it's not true. It's really a challenging and rewarding career because you are there for your clients in their most challenging moments. And I've actually enjoyed that component of my job. So that's the quick professional who I am.
Well, thank you. And I often tell students that that first job, maybe even that second job, is a continuation of your education, and you need to be a sponge and absorb what you can, take the challenge and take calculated risks like you did to say, yeah, I can do it, but yeah, start second guessing, but don't second guess yourself because you probably can do more than you realize. So,
And take the tough feedback. You know, at EY, my first and favorite boss of all time, Bob Henley, who's also a part of the VCU Business School Board, he gave me a lot of tough feedback that was good for me. And instead of me going, you know, he's not right, I really learned from him every time he gave me the tough feedback. And still, I credit him with a huge amount of the success in my career because he took the time to give me the feedback.
so tell me a little bit about Marsh. What type of accounts do you or Marsh deal with? Often I hear students talking, say, wait a minute, there's Marsh and then there's MMA. I don't understand the difference. They're both here in Richmond. It's confusing. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, we're all still family. So that's the first thing I would say. We're all under the Marsh and McLennan umbrella. And I say that I work for Big Mother Marsh, right? Sort of New York City, Avenue of the Americas. And our clients do tend to be a little bigger. That's not a rule of thumb across the board. Our agency cousins also have very complex accounts. It's just, if you had to say maybe take the 80-20 rule, for the most part, Big Mother Marsh would work on the Capital Ones and the Genworths and the Advanced Auto Parts, maybe the recognizable names that you would think of when you think of the Fortune 1000. But the agency, not just here in Richmond, but throughout the country, because we purchase agencies all throughout the United States who are successful, good at what they do, have great leadership, and they work on smaller to mid-market. Not every time, but I gave you the 80-20 rule. That is, for the most part, how we separate ourselves, but we're all under the MMC family.
So we were talking a little bit before we came live and everything about some of the challenges you see going on. So what from your paradigm, what are the challenges and opportunities within your world?
So before we jumped on this call, Robert and Lauren and I were talking about where the insurance markets are right now. And you know, you can do a quick search and it will tell you that most of the markets are up between 30 and 50% after 13 years of a very, very soft market. So look, you can't hide it. There's your challenge. You are delivering very bad results to clients who have not had bad results in 13 years. And for some of them, that might even be within their career, right? We have some clients who might be in their 30s and go, well, I don't understand. I've never seen a hard market. And you're literally delivering the first bad results ever. And also with some shrinking companies, right? We are in a global pandemic, hospitality, restaurants, airlines. Think about how many industries are suffering, and at the same time they're getting terrible results, candidly, from the insurance markets. So there's your challenge. But herein lies the opportunity. It's actually the moment to strengthen your relationship with your clients. When it's the bad times, that's when you have to be their business advisor and therapist and many other things. And you have to talk to them more frequently and really align with them. When everything's dandy, anybody can be their business advisor and their broker. It comes down to how close are you with that client when they need you in the tough times. And I actually think it's an opportunity to strengthen relationships with long-term clients who maybe even thought, oh, we'll go out to market. It appears, right, it's good timing, or I want to, look around. But I think this is the best time to show them, wow, we're more than just a broker. We're really your advisor right now. You need us through tough times. So I think there's your obvious challenge and maybe the less obvious opportunity, but it's certainly there.
What types of innovations do you see going on in the industry?
So for hundreds of years, insurance has operated the very same way. Maybe even, I would say, the most sluggish of all the industries to evolve. and again, we kidded before we got on this call, but I was talking about, if you had a ship and you lived in London and you put in money with your friends and your boat capsizes, then you and your friends come together and you get some portion of that money. And I have to tell you, up until not long ago, insurance really wasn't too dissimilar from that. I mean, it's a very analog process. And I would say over the past 3 to 5 years has been probably the biggest evolution in terms of the industry with AI, analytics. We're starting to see more data go into the process for not just informed decision making, but more streamlined technology discussions with the carriers, right? Rather than, hey, Bill at AIG and hey, Susie at Chubb, we're actually now starting to use more technology to get, out to the markets and have the markets come back to us. So and so I do think that there's a lot of opportunity for people who understand business statistics, AI, IT within insurance right now, because you can go very quickly into the large insurance companies and see what their investments are in tech. And it's
Sure.
significant just as terms of public data.
Right, an intersection of big data.
Yeah, but you have to know, we were the ones slowest, I think, to the game.
Right.
And so, but now I think that the brokers and the carriers have entered the game in a big, big way.
Well, we were talking a little bit before we got on the call about real estate. You said that is kind of one of your big areas. And so, we have our foot in both camps in real estate and RMI. So what do you see going on in the real estate markets?
It's a hard time for your real estate clients. I mentioned I have a big client who owns high rises in New York City, and they have to evolve, right? Again, here's the challenge. Companies are asking for less office space, not no office space, but less office space. So what does the new high rise of the future look like? Does it have office space as well as maybe a doctor's office, as well as perhaps entertainment apartments? Is it multi-use? I think that real estate companies are seeing very quickly they have to evolve. Interesting though, is not all real estate's performing poorly. You think about some commercial real estate that has an anchor of, say, a Publix or a grocery store, they're actually doing quite well still. People are cooking at home. There's a lot of large commercial real estate companies that are not doing poorly during a global pandemic. But of course, hospitality is suffering. And I'll give you just a little caveat on that one. Resorts are not suffering. Apparently, people are still vacationing, maybe at a lower level, but it's still there. The problem is, what do you do if you are a hospitality company that has most of your hotels are in for business travelers, say like Columbia, Maryland? And for anybody who's from Columbia, Maryland, I don't mean to offend you, but for the most part, people don't vacation in Columbia, Maryland at a DoubleTree. That's just not where they're headed as their destination this summer. So what do you do with that? Where's the evolution, and where are the smart young people with the ideas, right? Because that's really what real estate needs right now. They need ideas. They don't know if business travel doesn't come back over the next 12 to 24 months, which I'm not really predicting when you see some of the surveys out there from large companies. It'll come back to some extent, but not the way that's necessary to fuel the DoubleTree in Columbia, Maryland. And I'm sort of hoping that the smart, young, creative, young people out there are going to start thinking about what happens to that space? How does it evolve? But it's going to have to, right? Because I don't think that they can hold on for maybe 24 months to see it through to the progression.
Yeah, you're exactly right. We were talking earlier about how the residential market is on fire, but there's segments of the commercial. It's like, oh my gosh, what are you going to do? Like you said, with the business traveler, with some of the office space, how is it going to get repurposed? Will it just be land value, be a tear down, or what? So it's just really interesting. And thank you for saying that we do need innovation, and we need a lot of young talent.
We do. I think that that's what real estate's craving right now, is just somebody to start challenging the original purpose of the space. And I think that that's where it's going to have to start. I've seen some of it out there, but I'm hoping we start to see more.
Right. So what is that, what I call pearls of wisdom? So Jenni Lee's pearls of wisdom to students. What advice? You started off really good with that first job, take it in, this, that, and the other, take the criticism. What other things would you have kind of as a parting thought of, this is kind of your next steps? You're going to graduate maybe in the next few months or next year or so. What do you see?
Well, I will go back to my original thought, which is learn to take criticism. You will hit your ceiling the moment you stop taking criticism. That is the actual moment you will hit your ceiling. You will self-impose it. The more you can hear from people, particularly below you and not always above you, to tell you where you can improve, that you will self-impose your own ceiling. I assure you. You put it on yourself when you decide that you know better than the people giving you feedback. So that's the first thing I would say. And the second, maybe this isn't a professional word of wisdom, but it's my pearl. And I think this is probably a buzzword right now, so I apologize if I'm going to use a buzzword that everybody's heard too much, but I do like starting my day with intention, and I'll be very, very specific about that. Always plan for the next day, the next week, the next month. I actually study my calendar. I study it. And I ask myself, is there enough client time? Is there enough time with my colleagues and my employees? Is there enough time out there for maybe new prospects and clients? Am I allotting my time professionally in the way that I want my time to be allotted? Because if you let inertia take care of it, that's all that will ever happen. Inertia and emails and being pulled in this direction or that direction will make the decisions for you, rather than you sort of actively taking your own decisions. I am a fan of journaling. I am a fan of studying the calendar. I like a lot of, I say lists, but I like for them to, what is the achievement I need to get done today? It might be something small, or it might be something big, but I need to know it the night before, the day before, the week before, because the likelihood of it being accomplished is far better than if I get up on Tuesday morning and I go, what am I doing today? Right? You're always behind the 8 ball. And I would say that that's also part of my personal life, right? Have I given enough time to family and friends and myself and meal planning and everything? So I'm a big fan of intention. You make it happen, and you're where the buck stops, and you have to give yourself the planning to back into life. Really, that's all you're doing. You know what you want, and now you have to back into it. So that's my sort of massive pearl of wisdom that I give to everybody.
Thank you. And I appreciate that very much, because I see a lot of students that are reactive rather than planning, and then they get into a bond and everything. So I'm a big fan of planning and so forth. So I think that we're kind of winding down with our presentation today. We sincerely appreciate you spending your time with us and helping our students better understand what you do. And again, this is a series that we're doing to let students know about different career options and advice and so on for in the RMI area, and happens to be in this case also within real estate. So again, thank you so very much, and we will talk to you soon.
Great. Thank you all for having me. It was fun to talk about insurance. It's not always the thing everybody asks to talk about, but I clearly have a passion for it. So thank you.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do indeed. So again, thank you so very much. Take care.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. Bye-bye.